everyone, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Nina, and today we're going to be talking all about how to help our friends and our loved ones who are overwhelmed by clutter and mess to finally clean up and declutter their homes. And also, this video can be used as a resource for anyone out there who is overwhelmed by their own clutter and really would like help, but need to be able to kind of explain a few things to other people before that process happens. Because we all know that no matter how good someone's intentions are, there are things that can really rub us the wrong way and make something that is already difficult for us even more difficult. Now, the very first thing that we need to do is to determine which category the person that we are trying to help falls under. Now, there's basically two categories of people that need to declutter. Now, the first one are people who have very, very busy lives. Maybe they have a career that takes up all of their time, or they have a lot of children, and things just with time kept accumulating. They really didn't have time to address it, and eventually the problem just got out of hand. Now, on the other side, you have people who feel that all of their things are valuable to them. They have object attachment. They are very sentimental about their things. And they may have a lot of anxiety about letting things go. And maybe even they have some hoarding tendencies. Now, I do want to quickly point out that living in a cluttered home or having trouble letting things go or even having hoarding tendencies is very different than having an actual hoarding disorder. Now, hoarding disorder is a clinically recognized mental health condition that really needs to be treated by a mental health professional. So if you are wanting to help someone with hoarding disorder to declutter their home, that would have to be under the direct guidance of their mental health professional. But that being said, just because someone does not have a hoarding disorder does not mean that this process can't be very painful and difficult for them. And that's what this video is about. I'm going to be talking about the do's and the don'ts in helping someone declutter so that we can make this process as easy and as painless as possible for them. But backtracking just a little bit, we really do need to know what type of situation this is. Now, if we have determined that it's a person who really doesn't have hoarding tendencies, it's not that they're really attached to the stuff they have, it's just their life has been overwhelming and they haven't had the time to address it. So you're going to address it together. And it doesn't, in these cases, usually matter at all what technique is used, because really we are just trying to keep them motivated. We're trying to help them make a plan for all this stuff. We can ask them questions to help them gain some clarity about what to keep and what to give away. And usually within a few hours, a lot of progress is made. But today we're really talking about that other group of people that probably do have a lot of anxiety surrounding giving things away or letting things go, and could be very concerned that they're going to make wrong decisions and regret some of the things that they let go of. Maybe they have a lot of guilt surrounding letting things go, or maybe they just have negative emotions about the entire process. Now, I am someone who absolutely used to fit into this category and struggled with this issue for years and years and years. And even though I no longer struggle with this issue, I know firsthand what it's like to get help from someone that is very well-intentioned, but actually makes the process a lot worse. So maybe they just make it seem like everything you own is garbage and needs to be trashed, or they try to kind of put everything in the giveaway pile without you sorting through it. But I can assure you, for someone that has attachments to objects, that is not the way to go. So these are some of the things that we're going to be discussing today. So the first thing that we do want to do is to ease into the conversation. We don't want to make it scary. We don't want to make it threatening. We don't want to say something like, come over at 3 o'clock. There's something serious that I want to talk to you about. No, we want to approach this lovingly and gently and compassionately. And we also want to make sure that we are using very neutral language. We do not want to use any words that are going to trigger them. Of course, it's going to make them feel defensive if we say things like, let me help you clean up all this trash in your house, or look at how cluttered this is. Let's fix all this clutter. Or, I don't think this is a very sanitary environment. Let's fix it. So we do want to approach the conversation. We just want to be very careful about how things are worded and think about how they might feel with what we are trying to say. So we want to, again, approach it lovingly and compassionately. The second thing we need to do is to express our support. We want to make sure that they know that we are here to help, but not to lead. They must be assured that they will always have the final say in what stays and what goes. They need to be an active part of the entire process. They need to really take ownership of it. And also, they need to be able to communicate to us any special requests, any concerns, or any special needs that they may have. We want to make sure that everyone is in agreement and comfortable with the process before it actually begins. Now, the third thing that we need to do is come up with a plan, and we want to make sure that they are part of making this plan. So for most people, that's going to come down to having 4 piles of things. So we have the keep pile, we have the donate pile, we have the trash pile, and this is very important for people who struggle to give things away, the think about it pile. Because you will notice what tends to happen is they will pick up objects and they'll start to reminisce about those objects, and maybe they'll feel like they should give it away, but they're really not ready to do so. So instead of wasting tons of time, really agonizing over that one object, we can just say, you know what, go ahead and put it in the think about it pile. We don't really have to make this decision right now. Now, if there are items that are very valuable that you come across, you could also have a sell pile. Now, from experience, I know that a lot of times this part of the process never actually happens. So they never get to, sell these things on eBay, or they can never figure out how to profit from these items. So eventually these things usually do get donated instead of sold. But if you think that they are ambitious enough, or maybe even to give them peace of mind, you can also make a pile of things to sell in the future. Now, the fourth thing that we should do is to focus on either one area or one room, because we have to make sure that we'll be able to completely declutter that room in one day. The last thing that we want to do is start on part of the process and then leave with it unfinished, because the next time we come back, most likely everything's going to be back exactly the way it was. It's going to be all messy again. So we want to make sure that we're realistically able to clear that space. So it could be a bathroom, it could be a hallway, because here we want to let them see the joy of having a space that is decluttered. We also psychologically want to show them that it is possible. So again, we want to make sure that we don't bite off more than we can chew, and that we are able to actually complete the area that we decide to focus on. Now, my next suggestion is to focus on areas that could impact safety or health. So for example, if you're going through the house with them and you notice that there's something blocking the fire detector, or there's a doorway that's blocked, anything like that, anything that could directly impact their safety or their health, that's probably a great place to focus on first. Number 6 is to start the process by removing any trash. Now, keep in mind that there's probably going to be some disagreement about what is or is not trash. So we want to go ahead and let them identify what the trash actually is. You may be looking at some things right away that you're like, oh, I just want to throw these things away. But we can't do that. We have to let them make these decisions, because there are things that clearly are trash. Maybe there are old soda cans, or things that are broken and could never be fixed. These are the types of things we just want to do a quick sweep of everything that we can all agree on is trash. Tip number 7 is extremely important, and that is to make sure that we address sentimental items last. Now, when people start this process of decluttering, or even when they start to think about decluttering, their mind goes right to those things. I hear them say things like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with my grandmother's china, or I don't know what I'm ever going to do with my aunt's wedding dress that was passed down to me. And it starts to create this dread, like we're going to make all these bad decisions. So if we can save these things until the end, when we are in the flow of decluttering, when we've had time to kind of think about these things, the process is going to be a lot easier, because there are tons of other things that we can focus on for decluttering, even without addressing any sentimental items. So if we put all of these things right away in the think about it box, it's going to make the process a lot easier, because we're not getting stuck right at the beginning of the decluttering journey. The 8th thing that we can do is to ask helpful questions. So a lot of times we can just simply ask questions in a way that help them gain clarity and help them to make their own decisions. We never want to, make them feel like we are pressuring them or we are trying to make them have a decision one way or another about their items. So we can simply ask them helpful questions to help them gain that clarity themselves. So I will give you an example from my own life. I used to, well, I still do, love music, and in my adolescence I went to see tons and tons and tons of bands, and every single time I went to see a band I would get a t-shirt, and by the time I was an adult I had like 100 of these t-shirts, and I knew I had to declutter them at some point. So it was really helpful when I had someone ask me the questions, well, out of all of these, which are the 5 ones that are the most special to you? Or, picking up each one and saying, why is this one special? Or, would you still be proud to wear this shirt? Is this still a band that you would like to support? And in the end, these questions were very, very helpful. And what I did is to just take pictures of them. And these are the types of suggestions that you can make also. The things that we are going to give away, we can take pictures of them. And again, if we ask the questions that are going to help them make their own decisions, they're going to start to feel empowered, and this process ends up going a lot faster. Number 9 can be extremely challenging, but is very important to this process, and that is to listen without judgment. So a lot of times when they are going through their items, it's going to, spur a whole bunch of memories. And when we are talking about specific items that they are very sentimental about, a lot of times they just want someone else to appreciate these items. They don't want someone to think of them as trash. They want you to understand why they think it's valuable. So that means you have to be a little bit patient. You may be, in for a long story about this or that, but sometimes once they've expressed their appreciation for the item and have acknowledged that you also appreciate that item, sometimes they're able to let that item go. They just wanted it to be acknowledged. They just wanted to be able to share that story. So that's something that could be helpful. And even if they end up keeping that object, it is a very important part of the process for them to work through what is and is not truly valuable. I also want to mention here that sometimes after they've told that story, if it's an item that really is not going to continue to serve them, you can gently remind them that it is possible to find someone else that's going to appreciate that item just as you had. So for example, I had a client who had a lot of trouble giving away baby clothes. In fact, she had all of the baby clothes for her 2 children, bins and bins and bins and bins and bins and bins of baby clothes. But we were able to find a nonprofit organization that was accepting donations for special needs children, and they specifically needed baby clothes. And she was so happy to find some place that she felt was deserving of these precious items. So that can be helpful as well. And the last one on the to-do list is to keep it fun. Make sure that we are being motivating to them, we are being encouraging, we are being loving, we are keeping it upbeat, we are taking, reasonable breaks so that, it doesn't get too tedious, and that we are focusing on the progress that we made. Every hour, look around and say, wow, there's so much of a difference in here. It feels great to be around here. Look at all you've done. Wow, you are doing amazing. And just keep giving them that love and support they need, because remember, this is a difficult process for them. So now that we have a pretty good understanding of the things that would be helpful to another person, let's move on to the things that we should never be doing. Now, the first thing is the absolute golden rule. It is the most important thing to remember, and that is do not throw away anything without that person's permission. And I know it can be so challenging because we can look at something and think, well, this is clearly a piece of junk. But remember, if it is in their home, at least at one point in their life, they felt it had value. And it is important to the process of being able to let things go to make that decision yourself. Now, if someone else tries to sneak and put it in the pile to throw away, away, they are just going to want to rescue that item even more. It's going to become even more valuable to them because you've tried to take it away from them, and now it's going to seem really important to them all over again, and they will never be able to let that go. As difficult as it may be, every single item we need to hold up for them and say in a loving tone, what do we want to do with this? Or, is this something that you want to keep? Even if, again, it's something that is clearly junk to you. We want to just be very, very neutral and let them come to that determination themselves. Number 2 is to never insult any of their items or to call them junk, not even as a joke. Now, if they look at an item and make fun of it, that's fine. Hop right on board with that. You can join in the joke, but let them take the lead on that. You don't want to go in their closet, for example, and pick out a dress and say, whoa, this is ugly. I think we can safely put this right in the discard pile. Instead of saying something like that, because that can really hurt their feelings and make them feel defensive, especially if they actually like that item and disagree with you, you could say something more along the lines of, I don't know about this one. What do you think? To me, it's not as flattering as some of the other ones. Or, do you think if you went out that you wouldn't probably want to wear some of the other dresses that we've already put in the keep pile? What do you think about that? How we present what it is that we want to say can make all the difference in the world, and it keeps them from being insulted by our words, which can make this process even more difficult. And again, remember, it is already challenging for them, so we want to make sure that we are helping and not hurting their feelings. The third thing not to do is to question their decisions. Now, I know this can be challenging, especially when we really disagree with them keeping an item, but what they say is final. We have to respect that. And on the other side of the fence, if they actually say they want to get rid of something, don't be that person that says, I don't know, I think you could make that work, or maybe that's valuable. Oh, really shouldn't be giving that away. Don't be that person. It doesn't matter if the item is valuable. If they have decided that they are ready to let it go out of their lives, that is a win. Be supportive of them and always simply be respectful of their decision either way. Number 4 is do not disregard their limits. So in other words, if they are telling you that this is getting to be too much, that they need to take a break for a while, we must be respectful of that. Do not encourage them to keep pushing forward if they are getting, very, very emotional, or they are just overwhelmed or exhausted. If they need to take a break, we definitely need to allow them to do that. And in fact, we want to offer to help in any way possible. Do we need to get them something to eat, something to drink? Do they need to go walk outside for a little bit, or to just take a few moments for themselves? But we want to make sure that we are helping them through this process, because it can bring up so many negative emotions. It can be overwhelming. It can even be, very painful for them. So just be respectful of that, and if they need to take a break, allow them to do so. And number 5 is do not focus on perfection. First of all, perfection is not even an option right now. We are not, taking on this task in hopes of being able to take pictures of the space and putting it up on Pinterest. We are simply trying to make this space more livable and safer for our loved ones. And so we can't really focus on the little details that we would focus on in our own home, or really think about our own standards. We just want to think about progress. We want to improve the situation. We want to do as much as we can in the time that we have allotted. So if we waste a lot of time focusing on, again, these small details like we would in our own house, they're never going to see that big picture of the space being clear. We want this space to be clear first, and then from there, later on, we can work on making that space as aesthetic and lovely as we want it to be, or they want it to be. But remember, perfection cannot be our starting point. And my very last suggestion for this whole process is to celebrate. Let them know that this is a huge deal and that you are proud of them. Have them just look at that clear space and tell them how incredibly awesome it is, and go out and celebrate. Go to the movies, go out to dinner, get some coffee, go for a nice walk, but really celebrate this moment. And please know that you have helped to empower this person. So many times people do not declutter because they don't think it's possible possible. They don't think that they have the ability to do it. And when you show them that they actually do, they can keep going on this process and they can continue to declutter their house on their own. And even when this is not the case, you can continue to offer them further support, or you can help provide resources that can help them continue on this process on their own. But either way, you did help. So it is worth celebrating on both sides. Celebrate their win and celebrate the fact that you have genuinely contributed positively to someone else's life. So that being said, I truly hope today's video was helpful to you, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, especially if some of the things that we talked about today are things that you have run into and experienced yourself. So please let us know. Also, if you are not already a subscriber, take a moment to become one. This is something that we talk about very frequently on the channel because it is something that I struggled with greatly in my life and was able to overcome, and also is probably the top issue that people hire me to help them out with. So I have a lot of experience in this area and I would love to provide you with continued support. So I truly hope the rest of your day is extraordinary and I look forward to talking to you next time. Take care, guys.